Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Sol, and I'm coming at you with a TBR video for February. I typically don't like making TBRs because I'm such a mood reader and I never follow them. But for the past few years, I've been participating in Blackathon hosted by Jesse at Bogz and Books. Link to her announcement video will be down in the description. Every year that Blackathon has been a thing, Jesse breaks it up into groups by genre, and your girl has always chosen fantasy sci-fi. However, they have changed it up a bit, and there are three different groups with different prompts, and you can read any genre within those prompts. Also, each of these groups are named after a warrior. The group that I have chosen for this year's Blackathon is Granny Nanny, which is named after the Nanny of the Maroons, an infamous leader of the Maroon War, which was a conflict between the Jamaican Maroons and the colonial British from 1728 to 1740. For the first prompt, I have to read a book with a charming protagonist who is spiritual or has fantastical abilities. For this, I have chosen A Song of Wraiths and Ruins by Roseanne A. Brown. Now, this book I have already read before, but I've been meaning to reread it so I can finally read the second and final book in the series, A Psalm of Storm and Silence. A Song of Wraiths and Ruins, such a mouthful, is a fantasy book inspired by West African folklore and has dual POVs with Malik, a refugee escaping a war-stricken home to start a new life with his siblings, and Karina, the crown princess of Zeran. The story takes place during the Solstacia festival, where people from all around the kingdoms come to celebrate and compete in games, and throughout this book, these two main characters are actually trying to murder each other for reasons I don't want to spoil. It was one of my favorite books I read in 2020, so I'm really happy to reread it and finally get to the second book after the fact. The next prompt is to read a book with a protagonist who is mixed race and or an immigrant. And I've decided to read Trevor Noah's memoir, Born a Crime. Trevor Noah was born and grew up in apartheid South Africa to a white Swiss father and a black Tosa mother at the time when such a union was punishable by 5 years in prison. I've heard Trevor Noah speak about his past in comedy specials and on The Daily Show, but I've never read his book, so now's as good a time as any because I've had this on my shelf for a while now, and it's finally time to get around to it. The next prompt is to read a book set in Jamaica or on an island, and I chose a book set on an island, the Dominican Republic to be exact. Although I'm not 100% sure how much of this book is set in the DR, but we'll go with it. The book I chose is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is written in verse and is about two sisters, Camino, who lives in the DR and lives for when her father comes and visits her during the summers, and Yahaira, who lives in New York City with her parents and views her father as her hero. Their father dies in a plane crash, and this book deals with the aftermath of that, and these two sisters finding out about each other for the first time. First off, I don't know why Cubans, Dominicans, and Puerto Ricans love naming their kids names that start with Y. Yahaira, that's but in all seriousness, I feel like this book is going to make me cry, so I just need to prepare myself for that. And I need to stop picking books that I think are going to make me cry, because I've been doing that a lot lately. The next prompt is to read a book centering a tight-knit group of friends or unlikely allies. And the book I've chosen is the book I already mentioned, Psalm of Storm and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown. Since it's a sequel, I don't want to spoil anything, but it seems to fall under unlikely allies and finally be able to read it. So I'm excited for that. The final book in Granny Nanny group is a group book that everyone who chose this group has to read, and it's Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. Did I say that name right? I don't know. I've never heard of this book until this year's Blackathon announcement. From the synopsis, it states Ella has a thing. She sees a classmate grow up to become a caring nurse, a neighbor's son murdered in a drive-by shooting, things that haven't happened yet, Kev born while Los Angeles burned around them, wants to protect his sister from a power that could destroy her. But when Kev is incarcerated, Ella must decide what it means to watch her brother suffer while holding the ability to wreak cities in her hand. This looks to be a really short book, but sometimes the short books can be the most impactful. Just look at the books I've read back in January. Check that video out. I always enjoy when books that have fantastical elements also tackle real world problems, and this one seems like it will. One of the things I really enjoy about fantasy sci-fi, it can really say something about the world we live in, even if what's going on isn't or not yet possible. I mean, just look at Star Trek, all the things that people thought weren't possible, and now like we have phones and things of that nature that were predicted long before. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. Those are the books I'll be reading in February for Blackathon. Again, the link to this year's announcement video will be in the description down below. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to participate in Blackathon. What group did you choose if you are, and what books will you be reading? So, see you next time.